The farm is going up for foreclosure auction. My brother dropped the court papers onto my kitchen table like he had been waiting years to do it. There was a hint of satisfaction in his voice as he spoke. You should have paid back Dad's loan when you had the chance. Behind him, my mother stood with her arms crossed. She leaned slightly toward my aunt and whispered, just loud enough for me to hear. Maybe now she'll finally learn responsibility. Losing everything might teach her what we couldn't. They had driven 3 hours from the city just to deliver this news in person. Not just to inform me, but to watch me fall apart. To prove, once and for all, that the daughter who walked away from their corporate world was always going to fail. But there was something they didn't know. Something no one outside my carefully built network understood. The struggling little farm they came to take from me was actually the exclusive supplier for multiple Michelin-starred restaurants across the tri-state area. The loan they claimed I owed, $475,000. My farm's yearly revenue, $10.7 million. And my family had no idea. They had never even asked. You have 27 days to vacate, brother continued, his voice cold and professional now, like he was in a courtroom instead of my kitchen. The county assessor will be here Friday to evaluate the property for auction. He glanced out the window and shrugged. Whatever's left after the debt is settled will go into escrow. Though, judging by this place, I wouldn't expect much. I followed his gaze. All he saw was dirt, plastic, and work. What he didn't see were the carefully maintained greenhouses, the rows of rare, heritage vegetables, the climate-controlled growing systems producing ingredients that top chefs paid premium prices for. To brother, it looked worthless. I never agreed to any loan, I said quietly. According to Dad's estate records, you did, he replied instantly. 3 years ago. $35,000 for startup costs. With interest, that's now $47,000. He paused, then added. Mom, as executor of the estate, has authorized me to collect. I turned to her. Mom, Dad gave me that money. He said it was an investment in my dream. There was no loan agreement. She didn't meet my eyes. Your father was too soft on you, she said. He encouraged your foolish decisions. I'm fixing that mistake. By taking my farm? By teaching you consequences. Finally, she looked at me. Her face held the same expression I had known my entire life, disappointment mixed with quiet disapproval. You chose to play in the dirt instead of building a real career. You turned down every opportunity, brother, and I gave you. She took a breath. Now you'll learn what happens when fantasy meets reality. I could have argued. I could have pulled out contracts, financial reports, and client lists. I could have shown them everything, every success, every deal, every proof that they were completely wrong. But I didn't. Because I had learned something a long time ago. My family didn't listen to words. They only believed in proof. Clear. Public. Impossible to ignore proof. The assessor is coming Friday? I asked. Friday morning. 9 o'clock, brother said, smiling slightly. I'll be here to make sure everything goes smoothly. I nodded. Fine. I'll see you then. They left thinking they had already won. They had no idea what was coming. I built Green Valley Organic from nothing. 3 years of hard work, mistakes, and stubborn determination. When I left my corporate marketing job to start farming, my family thought I had lost my mind. Brother called it a quarter-life crisis. My mother suggested therapy. Only my father believed in me. He gave me that $47,000 and said, prove them wrong. He passed away 2 years later. He never got to see what I created. But I carried his belief with me through everything. The early years were brutal. I made mistakes, lost crops to bad weather, pests, and my own inexperience. There were moments I thought they were right about me. But I kept going. And eventually, I figured it out. Regular farming was a losing game. Big operations always win on price and volume. So I chose a different path. I went small, rare, high-end. I grew vegetables most farmers had abandoned decades ago, heirloom varieties with unique flavors. I cultivated delicate microgreens that had to be harvested by hand. I sourced rare seeds from collectors around the world, ingredients you simply couldn't find anywhere else. And slowly, I built something valuable. My clients included some of the best restaurants in the country. Places like the Green Fork in Manhattan, Seaside in Boston, and Harvest Moon in Philadelphia. In total, 12 Michelin-starred restaurants, plus dozens of high-end kitchens, specialty grocers, and private chefs serving the ultra-wealthy. New clients had to wait up to 9 months just to work with me. They signed contracts guaranteeing orders for 4 years. Some of my rarest crops, purple carrots, golden beets, heirloom garlic, sold at prices that would shock most farmers. But I kept everything quiet. No social media. No interviews. No public attention. My clients preferred it that way. And so did I. To the outside world, I was just a woman with a small farm, barely getting by. To the people who mattered, I was one of the most in-demand suppliers on the East Coast. My family never bothered to find out which was true. They assumed I had failed. And now, they were about to learn the truth. Friday morning arrived cool and clear. Perfect weather for the collapse of their assumptions. Brother showed up early, dressed in a suit that looked completely out of place on a farm. My mother came with him, wearing a look of quiet anticipation. They even brought my Aunt Patricia, probably to witness my lesson. At exactly 9 o'clock, a county vehicle pulled into the driveway. The assessor stepped out, a middle-aged man with a clipboard and camera. Calm. Professional. Experienced. Miss Delacroix, he said, walking toward me. I'm here for the court-ordered property assessment. Of course, I replied. Please, take a look at whatever you need. Brother immediately stepped forward. The property is about 40 acres, he said confidently. There's the original farmhouse, a few outbuildings, basic irrigation. He adjusted his cuff. I've done some research. Similar farmland in this area goes for around $8,000 per acre. This should be a simple valuation. The assessor looked at him for a moment. And you are? Brother Delacroix, he said. Attorney for the estate. My mother is in charge here, I said quietly. I understand. Thomas nodded and wrote something on his clipboard. Thank you for the information, he replied calmly. But I'll still need to do my own full inspection. These things can't be rushed. Brother crossed his arms. How long is that going to take? Thomas didn't even look up. At least a few hours. A property like this needs a complete evaluation, soil condition, water access, infrastructure, equipment, everything. His eyes moved across the land and stopped at the greenhouse structures. For example, he added, pointing, those buildings will each need separate inspection. Brother scoffed. They're just greenhouses. Plastic sheets and pipes. Thomas didn't argue. Instead, he simply turned and started walking toward the fields. The inspection lasted 4 full hours. Thomas walked across every part of the farm. He took detailed photographs of the greenhouses, the climate-controlled storage units, and the advanced irrigation systems I had spent years building. He checked the processing areas, seed storage rooms, and even the small labs where I developed new plant varieties. At first, he was neutral and professional. But by the second hour, something changed. He started making phone calls, several of them. His voice was low, so I couldn't hear what he was saying, but his body language told the story. He stood straighter. He took more photos. He kept going back to recheck things he had already seen. Brother was getting irritated. This is ridiculous, he complained. It's just a farm. Thomas finally responded, his tone firm. No. This is a highly specialized agricultural operation. I'm seeing significant investment in infrastructure and advanced systems. This requires expert evaluation. Brother laughed. Expert evaluation? For vegetables? Thomas paused and looked directly at him. Sir, do you even know what is being produced here? Brother shrugged. Organic stuff. Tomatoes, lettuce, things you sell at local markets. I see, Thomas said quietly, writing another note. Then he turned to me. Miss Delroy, may I review your client records? Of course, I said. I led him to my office, a small building where I handled all the business operations. Behind me, I could hear brother and my mother following, now clearly curious. I opened a cabinet and took out a folder. These are my active contracts, I explained. Current clients, confirmed orders, and payment history. Thomas opened the file. He read the first page. Then the second. Then he stopped. Slowly, he looked up at me, his expression filled with surprise. Miss Delroy, is this correct? He asked. You supply Green Fork? Yes. For 4 years now. And Seaside? Harvest Moon? Yes, and yes. He flipped another page, then froze again. And this list, these are Michelin-starred restaurants. 13, I corrected gently. 4 more earned their stars last month. They've been my clients for years. Thomas carefully closed the folder, then immediately pulled out his phone. I need to make a call. He stepped outside. Through the window, I could see him speaking urgently, pointing toward the greenhouses, glancing back at my office with disbelief. Brother appeared in the doorway. What's going on? What's in that folder? My business records, I replied. Let me see. No, I said firmly. You're not entitled to them. I'm the estate attorney. You're the attorney trying to take my property using a false claim, I shot back. You don't have the right to access my private documents. Brother frowned. False. There's a loan. There was no loan, I said. Dad gave me that money as an investment. He believed in me. You're making that up. No, I said, my voice steady. You created this story because Mom didn't like the life I chose. My mother stepped forward. That money was part of the estate. We have every right. You have no right to anything that belongs to me, I cut in. And in a few minutes, you're going to realize just how wrong you are. At that moment, Thomas returned. His face was flushed, and he looked completely different now, more serious, more alert. Miss Delroy, he said, I've spoken to my supervisor. We'll need more time for this evaluation. The value of this property is far higher than we initially believed. How much higher? Brother demanded. Thomas looked at him, then at my mother, and finally at me. This is not a struggling farm, he said slowly. Miss Delroy supplies premium organic produce to top-tier restaurants across the region. He checked his notes. Her annual revenue exceeds $2 million. And that's just from contracts. When you include her client relationships, unique seed collections, and specialized systems, the value increases significantly. The room went silent. In my 27 years of work, Thomas continued, I've never seen anything like this. These greenhouses are commercial-grade systems. The seed library alone could be priceless. And her client list, it's like a directory of the finest restaurants in the country. He turned sharply to Brother. Who told you this was a failing farm? Brother said nothing. My mother looked down at the floor. Thomas gathered his papers. Based on my early estimate, he said, this property is worth between $4 and $5 million. A precise value will take more time, but that range is clear. He paused. I will submit my report to the court. The foreclosure case will likely be dismissed. The alleged debt is small compared to the property value, and honestly, the claim itself is questionable. Then he walked out without another word. Silence filled the room. After nearly a minute, Brother spoke again, his voice rushed. This doesn't change anything. The loan still exists. We can work out a payment plan. There is no loan, I said. I opened another file I had prepared years ago. This is Dad's journal. I flipped to a marked page. March 27th, I read aloud. Gave Sophie $47,000 today. Told her it's an investment in her dream, not a loan. Linda will be angry, but I believe in her. She's going to prove everyone wrong. I handed the journal to Brother. As he read it, the color drained from his face. Dad kept journals for decades, I said. You would have known that if you had done your job properly instead of trying to destroy me. I took the journal back. This will go to court. Your false claim will be thrown out. And depending on the judge, you might face penalties for filing it. Brother tried to interrupt. Wait. No, I said, stepping closer. Now all the anger I had carried for years finally came out. You came here to take my farm. To humiliate me. To prove that your way of life was the only right way and that mine was a failure. I pointed outside, toward everything I had built. I supply 13 Michelin-starred restaurants, I said firmly. And I have an 18-month waiting list for new clients. Chefs from different states travel all the way here just to see what I grow on my farm. Some of them place orders months in advance. What I've built here earns more in a year than your law practice ever has. Brother didn't say a word. I turned to my mother, my voice steady but heavy with years of pain. You've never believed in me. Not when I graduated at the top of my class. Not when I built a strong career in marketing. Not even when I left everything behind to follow my own path. My entire life, you've been waiting for me to fail just so you could say, I told you so. She tried to interrupt. I was only trying to protect you. No, I cut her off, shaking my head. You were trying to control me. And when control didn't work, you tried to destroy what I built. I took a breath, holding myself together. Dad believed in me. He trusted me. He supported me. And ever since he passed away, you've spent the last 4 years trying to undo everything he stood for. My mother's face fell apart, but this time, I didn't feel anything. No guilt. No sympathy. Just clarity. Leave my farm, I said firmly. And don't contact me again. If you try anything else, legal action, manipulation, or any kind of scheme, I will fight back with everything I have. And as you can see now, I have more than enough resources to do that. Brother quietly gathered his papers and walked out without saying a single word. My Aunt Patricia followed him, looking completely stunned by everything that had just happened. My mother stayed behind for a moment. Sophie. I never meant for things to go this far, she said softly. Yes, you did, I replied. You meant every word. You just never expected me to stand up to you. And you definitely didn't expect consequences. I'm your mother, she said, almost pleading. I looked at her calmly. No. You're the woman who tried to take away my livelihood just to prove a point. Those are not the same thing. I walked to the door and opened it. Goodbye, Mom. She hesitated, then slowly walked out. I closed the door behind her and stood alone in my kitchen. For a moment, everything was quiet. Then I looked outside. The greenhouses shined under the warm afternoon sun. The fields were ready for spring planting. This wasn't just land, it was a life I had built with my own hands, with determination, sacrifice, and my father's belief in me. 8 weeks later, the court dismissed the foreclosure case completely. The judge made it clear that there was no real evidence behind the claim. In fact, my father's journals proved the opposite. Brother even received a formal warning for filing a baseless legal case. My mother tried reaching out to me twice after that. I didn't respond. But I did make one important change in my life. For 3 years, I had stayed quiet. I kept my success private. I chose peace over attention, and silence over recognition. I let my family believe I was failing, because their opinions didn't matter to me. But now I understood something. Staying silent had a cost. So I stopped hiding. I hired a publicist. I agreed to interviews. I allowed food magazines to visit my farm, take photos, and tell my story. People began to see what I had really built. Then one day, the New York Times contacted me for a feature about farm-to-table sourcing. This time, I said yes. 3 months later, the article was published. It included beautiful photos of my fields, interviews with top chefs praising my produce, and the full story of how I built a multi-million-dollar agricultural business from nothing. The headline read, "The Hidden Queen of High-End Produce." I sent a copy of that article to my mother. Not to hurt her. Not to take revenge. But so that the next time she told someone her daughter was a failure, they could look me up and see the truth for themselves. Last week, I received a letter from Brother. Sophie, it said, I owe you an apology. Not a legal one, my lawyer advised against that, but a personal one. I believed everything Mom told me without ever questioning it. I never visited your farm. I never asked about your work. I didn't give you the same fairness I would give a stranger. That's my mistake. I don't expect you to forgive me. But I want you to know that I see what you've built now, and I'm honestly impressed. Dad was right about you. I just wish I had realized it sooner. Your brother, whether you still want me or not. I read the letter twice. Then I sat down and wrote a reply. Brother, you stood against me. You supported Mom without question. You came here expecting to watch me fail, and instead, you tried to take everything from me. But today, you did something Mom still hasn't done. You admitted you were wrong. I'm not ready to forgive you yet. But I am willing to give you a chance to earn it. If you truly want to rebuild our relationship, it won't be easy. No shortcuts. No assumptions. Start by coming here. Visit the farm. See what I've built with your own eyes. Meet the people who work here. Understand why this place means everything to me. Then, we can talk. Your sister, whether you deserve me or not. Sophie. They called my farm a failure. They tried to take it away from me over a debt of just $47,000. But when the truth came out, the county assessor revealed something very different, a $9 million agricultural business supplying some of the finest restaurants in the country. My father believed in me when no one else did. And now, the whole world knows he was right.